Well, good evening, race fans. Welcome back for more Monday Night Racing right here on Simple Racing Broadcast. And of course, it is the MC Motorsport French Car Care GT3 Championship this week, round 4. And we are approaching the midway point of the season very, very quickly indeed. Tonight, though, we are here in Italy's Misano World Circuit. It's a tight and technical track that will reward precision and punish even the smallest mistakes along the way. Of course, tonight is an endurance round where everything counts just a little more because there's more points on the line than just about any other round of racing. The championship battle beginning to take shape, and of course, drivers tonight will need to balance the decision between taking the opportunity or sticking it out for the full 90 minutes of racing. My name is Jared Cole. It's great to be back with you, and I have in the booth with me tonight a familiar voice to you all, I'm sure, Dean Biggles Hopton. Biggles, great to have you back with us again for round 4 here at Misano.
Looking forward to it. You got Jared, absolutely, as you can see. So the fuel restrictions are 50% fuel cap as well too for this endurance race, so I'll be looking forward to it. So it certainly could be a make or break. The big points, as you said, up for grabs here this evening.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of pit stop action as a result of the fuel cap. It's always good fun. I'd like to see a few pit stops thrown in there. There's a little strategy to it. We often see, you know, even just a couple of seconds, the difference in your pit lane transit time can make such a huge difference, particularly at the end of 90 minutes of racing. It's not a super long enduro, but to be on it and pushing as hard as these guys have been all season so far for 90 full minutes, it's a big ask. Thankfully, though, the conditions absolutely perfect tonight. 23 degree track temp, 20 degrees in air. It's beautiful. I can see why everyone heads to Italy, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that they're all. You should be actually trackside eating pineapple on your pizza.
That'd be
nice
nice,
in Italy, for sure.
I value my life, man. I'm not trying that out.
This race, of course, you know, probably a few hangovers lurking in some of those cockpits from Bathurst weekend. Come to some of these gladiators would be have returned, obviously, from what a cracker weekend that we had. Of course, in our annual race for us Aussies. So
and we get to back it up tonight with more great racing. How can you argue,
yes,
right?
We do.
Absolutely fantastic. Before we go and catch the last, I don't know, few minutes of qualifying, let's take a look at how the points are shaping up in the championship. We've had 3 rounds, so 1 drop round accounted for in all of this. Reese Wakefield leading the way at the moment for One Performance Racing, with Hayden Veld splitting him from his teammate Danny P. Jeremy Washington still in the hunt, though, just ahead of Ruben Dan, with Sebastian Vandel and Ethan Johnson hot on the heels. Luke Newing and Chris Miller sneak into the top 10, and Josh Harris just barely hanging in there, with Mitchell Curry and Liam Jensen just outside the top 10 at the moment. A full 300 points on offer for the winner tonight. So could make a very, very big difference if someone down the pack a little bit gets a nice little shot at it. Of course, a notable absence tonight, just popping into the chat right now, actually. Jeremy Washington won't be on track this evening, so he's not going to have an opportunity to take full advantage of that. And g'day, Doctor. Good to have you back, as always, supporting the Koala Cartel. Let's go check out the last few minutes of qualifying before we do get underway with racing here this evening. And it has been a pretty interesting start to qualifying so far.
Yeah, Mick currently at the moment, Polly has the top of the timesheet for the Southern Cross Racing entrance there, and a best time of a 133.3 on his dial. And that's what everybody else would like to have on their racing dial in order to the time to beat. As I said, I'm not familiar with Hayden Veld. That's a new name.
Oh, he's been quick, Biggles. He's been quick.
Yeah, I can see running in the championship quite well. Familiar names, of course, with Danny P. Reese Wakefield, as you mentioned, and Washington. And Boss Man's out, which is great. Mitch Curry, he's currently running about 23rd place, sitting in pit road.
And Jackson Starrett's still in there, looking to improve his time. Doesn't manage to get up from P12. Might have time for one more run. Now, if you are new to us here this evening, it's been a while since you've grabbed one of the broadcasts, welcome back. First of all, good to have you back again. You might have noticed a few additions to the timing tower. You'll see those little yellow flags popping up alongside. That is not a caution, that is actually an iRacing slowdown, which is given for any corner cuts or basically stepping outside of the racing lines. I will say, Misano, Biggles, I don't know how much you've seen of Misano, but this season...
Barely anything.
Oh, mate, it's a beautiful track, it really is. These guys absolutely loving the conditions out there, no doubt, but something that we saw earlier this season of seasons, let's say, across a couple of other leagues that we cover here at Simple, of course, is that Misano has some of the strictest slowdown issues that I have seen anywhere else. We had a point in our V8 Supercar race here just a few weeks ago, I'm sure it was, where we had something like 10 or 12 of the field copping slowdowns at once. So keep your eye on the timing tower tonight, because that could be a significant make or break moment for a lot of these drivers as they push the limits of this course. There is not a lot of room for error. You can see Mick Polly there, despite having that purple sector, he's just copped one, so that'll invalidate what would have been his final shot at this.
Yeah, and interesting during the race, what they'll do is that, of course, that they'll have to lift off and just coast a little bit, according to the iRacing off-track limit rules. But it's interesting where that would take place, because, you know, if you're about to go on a long straightaway and then, of course, you can't put the pedal down, pedal to the metal, you will suffer a huge speed difference and you'll be under massive pressure from the other drivers around you. So they're going to be aware of that. There are other places, of course, that you can get those slowdowns. It doesn't affect you as punishing. So that's something that'll be interesting. Of course, at the end of the day, try to avoid getting there in the first place by keeping your car within the painted lines. However, it's not always easy to do that when you're mirror driving and you're all around the place, plus traffic coming into play. There's a lot of different aspects. Yeah, but as you said, I don't think the weather's going to be an issue. So, a nice sunny day to go racing.
Yeah, absolutely is. And you see the Koala Cartel boys just getting out of the way. Obviously, Chris McVie just switching across to the Aston Martin just ahead of this evening, so hasn't got his Koala Cartel paintwork loaded up yet by the look of things. Chris Lashbrook about to cross the line. Thomas Hin's coming in as well as he desperately pushes to improve that. He's got 2 green sectors so far. Just a bit slower there. Not good enough to lift him from P5. Does improve his hold on P5 for the moment. Yeah, Enduro round it is indeed, Jeremy, and I can never get my head around which ones are going to let us continue.
I know,
and which ones are.
It's always like that, isn't it?
Every time.
So they're on their final lap. The session flag has been waived, but if they do complete it, some of the drivers are going to pop into pit road, saying that their lap time wasn't competitive enough anyway. But yep, that's the situation. I'm still waiting for it. There's never any drop bear racing out there.
All the drop bear. Now they have been around in the Tuesday night V8 supercars. I know that we've had an entry from All the Drop Bear Motorsport in there. Unfortunately, due to some personal issues, won't be back this season, so going to miss out on the rest of that, which is a shame because it's shaping up to be a pretty decent season. Yeah, a couple that I am surprised to see racing tonight as well. ADHD, Josh Harris and Ryan Palmer, as Harris comes on into the pit lane. They're both just back from a pretty full week down at Bathurst. Lucas Baker from Southern Cross Racing also new into the Lambo this evening, so should be interesting to see how he goes. Feels like it'll be a much better vehicle for him than the Porsche has proven to be so far. Luke Hayden also still out on track for the moment, although doesn't look to be on track to improve his time a great deal at all.
Safety car as well too.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, why not?
Lucas, yeah.
Well, there we go. That's the last of the drivers calling it there. So we will have a grid ready to go in just a moment, folks. Hope you're strapped in and ready for this one. There we go. So there's multiple races that ends right on the 15. Single race you can complete laps started by the 15. There you go. You know I'm not going to remember that. I appreciate it, Mr. Washington.
Yeah, I won't either. And we
never remember
broadcast so much all the time and commentate races. And I don't know, probably 3-4 years now I've been doing this for iRacing. I still don't get my head around it. But what we can guarantee you, that's going to be coming up, that Jared's going to bring here for the Simple Racing broadcast practically right now, or in a minute, will be the starting grid for tonight's endurance race.
We will have a little while to go because, of course, there's a nice little 5-minute warm-up just slotted in there. So if you haven't got yourself a drink, jump in, absolutely, and get yourself a bit of a top-up there at home. Because we're not too far away from the start, but drivers get a bit more of an opportunity just to test out any little last-minute tweaks they might want to try with their setups here this evening. It's
now, yeah. Jared, you've got the track map up there at the moment. I just wanted to elaborate. Where do you think that the key success overtaking turns would be?
It's a really tough one to call, Misano, because of those track limits. There are a lot of great opportunities here. I mean, you can see there's quite a number of fairly slow and technical turns, particularly through that first sector. You've got that fairly complex little right, left, right section just off the main straight there. It's really hard to tell. We saw a lot of passing opportunities here last time we came to Misano. I really enjoyed the track. It made for some amazing racing, and I'm sure as a 90-minute endurance, we're going to see some more really, really impressive racing here this evening. But it is a very, very tough track to drive aggressively on and stay within the limits of it. So it's going to be, look, I'm expecting we'll probably see a lot of those yellow flags popping up, but once the drivers kind of find those 2 or 3 really ideal locations to get the pass done, they're going to push it really, really hard every single lap. I still haven't wrapped my head around this track, I'll be honest. I've driven it a couple of times this season, but not enough to be able to tell you, there's definite opportunities here, there, everywhere. I don't know, maybe Mr. Washington wants to weigh in and give us some insight from his perspective. You know, if you're not out there on track tonight, then mate, the least you can do is give us a hand here in the booth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, of course, our brought about the primary sponsors, the French Car Care here. You can get them at frenchcarcare.com.au. And if you want to know what French Car Care is about, it's a family-owned business that's been operating since 1983 because it was a man called Dennis and was born and raised in France and began working on the French marquees since he was 18. So he immigrated to Australia in 1976, the same year I was born, actually, and brought with him a wealth of knowledge and expertise. He's always updating his knowledge at the workshop, and of course they can get the complex business of automotive repairs. We know how much that can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes. So go see the French Car Care, and they'll help you sort out your service and repairs. And look, take away some of those nightmares that you have, that we all have, of course, when having to fix our loved vehicles.
Look, as a bit of a personal note, I can 100% back the service of French Car Care. I've actually been there a couple of times, would you believe, with a couple of different cars.
Yeah, they're in Brisbane.
They are in Brisbane,
so
you know, just up the road from me, kind of, in Wollongabba. But yeah, Simon Caplet and his family run that one, and so they've very generously agreed to get on board and support us this time around for this season. But yeah, it's a pretty...
And they focus on, is it European vehicles and stuff like that in the Brisbane area?
European vehicles, but a particularly good knowledge of your characteristically French brands. You know, your Peugeots, your Renaults, Citroens. Okay. I've had a Peugeot and a Citroen both into them across my lifetime, and pretty impressive just how much they know about those vehicles, and more than anything else, their ability to get parts for the things. Because I can tell you what, me trying to get parts from, forget it. Just cannot find them. No problem at all for the guys at French Car Care. So big shout out to the Caplet family.
Somebody starts speaking French and goes, all right, I need this, you know. It's probably got someone who works at the factory there and says, I'll give you that, and for a good price. That's what it's all about. And that's extensive knowledge, as you said. So that's something that you can't just, you know,
it's hard to
jump
find.
into a business and go, oh, well, you know, I know what I'm doing. Well, you don't. You need a lot of experience to know what you're doing.
Absolutely right, mate. It's a tricky one. Here in Washington, weighing in for us, the right hairpin midway through the lap can work. Some people take a wide line on entry and the right-hand hairpin after the 2 right kinks, if you can follow closely through the kinks. And that's the big if, isn't it? It's how close can you stick with somebody and still stay within the track limits and be well set up to get those passes done. It's a much tougher track than it looks. It's beautiful though. It's brand new. It is surfaced almost immaculately compared to a lot of the tracks that we see around the place. You know, compared to somewhere like Sebring, for instance. I know there's a lot of chatter going on at the moment about the Sebring surface in the Tasman Racing League Discord and just how bad that is. But anyway, it's a challenge for another week. We've got the grid ready to go as the drivers are getting out there and getting ready to go racing here for 90 minutes at Misano. Mick Polly and Reece Wakefield will take the front row ahead of Daniel Poulton and Hayden Veld. Then Thomas Inns and James Salhani on row 3, with Chris Lashbrook and Ethan Johnson behind them. Ian Ward and Michael Whiting round out your top 10. Further back, Liam Jensen and Liam Tipping, the 2 Liams from Koala Cartel. That's not going to confuse us at all, Biggles. 11th and 12th, followed by Cruz McPhee and Jackson Starrett. Ben Faulkner and Chris Miller behind them, then Alex Zekas and Lucas Baker, with Brad Coates and Jackson Austin rounding out your top 20. Dean Jacobson and Darren Caldwell ahead of Ryan Palmer and Mitch Curry, then Kyle Ridley and Josh Harris ahead of Nick Clydesdale and Daniel Harrod, Nathan Bowman and Charlie Milliken round out your 30. Once again, an amazing turnout here tonight, by the way. Keith Logan and Chris Burke line up ahead of Luke Hayden and Martin Lipsky. And then Scott Bartine and Brian East look to be last on the grid at the moment. Although we'll have to check and see if Scott Bartine is racing tonight or if he is indeed in race control. I believe he's out on track though. Nathan Allen, of course, ready to drive the safety car as and when that is required. And I suspect we'll probably see it at least once tonight over the 90 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. An endurance race. Most likely, I'm sure Nathan's keen to get out there. He loves to be out there and just lead the pack around.
I did notice he snuck out there on the warm up, so he's definitely put in
well, there you go.
a little bit of time just to get the tyres in.
You don't want to spin as a safety car too, do you? So I mean, it would be quite embarrassing. I'm sure Nathan wants to make sure he gets it right. For the rest of the field, they're going to be jumping over out of the wall there. Of course, that separates the pit garages from the racetrack and into their car, all ready to fire it all up. They're parked firmly essentially at the moment as well, too, so you can't make any adjustments whatsoever. You just got to start that car, hit the loud pedal, and hope that she manages to connect to the tarmac, and hopefully you can get yourself through the first couple of turns.
As we go down to the grid, have a look at the lineup. As always, a massive field here tonight. Goes right back and around the corner. It's a challenge for all of these drivers, but also for my broadcast PC to keep up with these MC Motorsport fields. It's been really impressive, honestly, the start to this season, Biggles, and the number of drivers showing up for the first 4 rounds makes for some amazing viewing for everyone at home. So absolutely no complaints from me. DJ
35,
Palmer just checking in.
It looks like 35 brave souls are going to be
I'm counting 35. We'll call it 36 if Scott
Yeah.
Bartine is racing. I don't think that he is. But I can be convinced either way. We are just about ready to go though, folks. So round 4 here at Misano. 90 minutes lie ahead as we wait for the starters' orders. Somewhere at the back of the field, there's a green flag about to be waved to let us know that we're ready to go. And it won't be far off now, I'm sure. The drivers out on the field just running through their mental checklist. Here we go. We've got the green flag at the back of the field. We are under starters' orders, waiting on the 5 lights. And we are away for round 4 here at Misano. An hour and a half of racing gets started immediately. A massive jump there from what looks to be one of the ADHD cars, and immediately that's gone very wrong, unfortunately, for another of the teammates there. I'm just trying to take a look and see who that would have been. It looks as though Kyle Ridley's been caught up in it as well, but that's Josh Harris off the track and trying to get himself back up and running. Reese Wakefield and Hayden Veld out in front though, very comfortably starting their run through Misano's turns. And have a look at just how congested this track gets with such a massive field as they come charging down towards this turn. Veld already starting to explore those track limits way out to the right. He's starting to push it. 2 of the Race on Oz entries looking for an inside line there as well, and already Wakefield and Veld starting to put a bit of a gap on Mick Poley. It's a very early push from them for a 90-minute race.
Get a little bit heated as well too. Kyle Ridley's unfortunately had to go off the track a little bit, and he's dropped back down to P31. Ian Ward at the start, he had to go off into the kitty litter off it as well too, and he's had to drop down to P29 as well too. Josh Harris, as you mentioned, and Liam Jensen looked like they were a little bit of shenanigans at the start of this race. But so far, I'm seeing the car still pointing in the right direction, just out there, just out a couple of positions at the moment. But hey, it's an endurance race, it ain't over yet.
Hour and a half, we're a minute and a half into it. I don't think there's any cause for concern as long as no one's picked up any big damage this early on. That'll be the killer, is if they have hit the wall just that little bit too hard. And already Veld picks up the first of the slowdowns. That will not be, I promise you, the last time you see those little yellow flags pop up next to names here. It's going to be a long night of lots of little slowdowns for a lot of drivers as we get ourselves set up to take a bit of a look more closely at a couple of the battle packs that are starting to show up out there on field. And Reese Wakefield, with the aid of that slowdown, gets himself just a little bit of extra room to play with out ahead of Veld.
That he does. Liam Jensen and Kyle Ridley have gone down a pit road there. Might have got a little bit of damage. I don't see anything too crazy visual on the cars down there in the pit road at the moment, but they are going in there, electing to get that fixed pretty early there and try out some alternative strategies. You're seeing some fantastic battles brewing around P3 at the moment.
Yeah, Polly and Salhani just swapping sides, looking for an opportunity, looking for line. Salhani's going to jam it up the inside. Polly turns himself across the nose, just tries to shut the door just a little too late, I think. And in the end, finds himself dropping quite a few places as a result. Let's go back and take a look at some of those early incidents as well. Josh Harris, the first on the IRAP Designs replay to get caught up in it and just gets a little bit of a nudge from the Koala Cartel car and
barely
ends up
across the
sideways.
start-finish line as well, too, as I remember, because a lot of the pack start all the way around the corner. Kind of like Bathurst, really, at the start of the race. And not too much.
Ian just gets loose on the cold tyres, and thankfully no contact, so he's right to get going. But the biggest problem at this point is just having to wait out the massive field as they come charging through and trying to find a spot to re-enter the pack without causing any dramas. That can be a really, really tricky thing, Biggles.
Yeah, you've got to wait patiently as well too, don't you? When if you have to find a gap, and of course in a big stacked field of 34 cars, it's going to be zooming on past. It's just going to be frustrating to see that action, as we're also going to see a nice little battle between Michael winning there and Liam tipping.
Yeah, it's going on right throughout the field. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the various battles we've got going on. Brad Coates and Dean Jacobson here just swapping positions a couple of times. Jackson Starrett now, though, is side by side with Mick Poley. Finds himself on the outside. He's going to look for that over-under as they come through this hairpin, and he might just get the drive down. Poley's left the door wide open on the exit. But I tell you what, those Mercs, the drive they get out of the corners, it's hard to keep up with them in any car. Even the Porsche, which does have some pretty decent exit speed, generally speaking, hasn't managed to capitalise on it just yet, but plenty of time to keep pushing along. Keep your eye up front. Reece Wakefield and Hayden Veld, almost a second separating them, but look at the gap back to Salhani, 2.5 seconds already, and we are 4.5 minutes into this 90-minute race.
He's looking pretty comfortable at the front at the moment, setting the fastest laps as well after fastest laps early into this race. Norman Bowman went around somewhere as well. He's actually back. He's dropped a couple of places where he is around Josh Harris battling it out there, and Brian East down there 29th place, but it's certainly a good little squabble that's going on, as the big packs, battle packs absolutely everywhere in this race is to be expected if you can gain some positions. This track is providing overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, look, they will be available. It's just a matter of, tracking them down and actually having not just the pace, but the courage to actually hold your line through some of these corners when you know that you're flirting with that slowdown every time you try and push the limit. A big moment there for Ethan Johnson as he gets a little bit loose in the Aston, holds it well, and it's just going to give an opportunity for Chris Lashbrook behind him to maybe have a think about closing that gap up a little further. These Astons really, they're probably not what I expected, Beagles, in terms of the newest entry into the GT3s. They actually seem to have gotten the balance of performance pretty good with them. They're not dominating. When you take a look at our timing tower, we've got Merc, Lambo, Ford, Corvette, Merc, Aston. It's pretty nicely split, and I will say it is nice to see a whole bunch of McLarens up the front, like you see, everywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Well, you got a McLaren at the moment, P9. That's about the best, and make that P10 as that battle, as you can see in your pictures.
Mick Poley just takes the inside through these couple of corners. Michael Whiting can't quite get that McLaren to move in. Starrett's thinking about a move here as well. He just might get that done. Michael Whiting just struggling a little bit. And there you go. Mick Poley picks up a slowdown. They're only small slowdowns here, but it's that old death by 1,000 cuts thing, isn't it? You hit a slowdown every lap, and all of a sudden you're shedding time for no really good reason. Polly's trying to find where he's going to burn this off. You'll see him just take it a little bit slower through a lot of these turns. He'll park it on the apex. He's got about 30 seconds usually to clear that slowdown, so he's got to be thinking about it pretty soon. And it looks like he's got it cleared there, but of course it's cost him, with Michael Whiting catching it right back up as a result.
Oh, yep, there could be a little bit of door banging going on there as well too, but Langton, they have not. Well, there it is, so it's an opportunity, and absolutely fantastic defensive work that you had to do there, of course, with that slowdown that was lurking. But that's the thing, it can punish you at certain parts of the track a lot more than others, and we can see a bit of three-wide action in the background here.
Yeah, this is an interesting little pack forming up here. We've got a few battles going on, but no one seems to quite have the pace that they need to pull away here. Michael Whiting and Chris Miller, both from Fishy, in the mix here. So the two teammates making it very, very difficult, by the way, for us to distinguish them, given that they're painted almost identically. In fact, probably identically is my guess. Mick Poley, though, still in the middle as he takes a bit of a look up the inside of Cruz McVie. As they charge on down, side by side. It's a fast turn, plenty of room for it. Cruz has got to be careful he doesn't pick up a slowdown on the outside. Poley takes the inside line, takes the position, and he'll just start to tow McVie along. Of course, this being an endurance race, Biggles, it's not always about being in front, is it? You can sometimes just do a bit of fuel saving and tuck in behind someone and actually benefit from that over the long run. And the long run, it absolutely will be. We're not even at 10 minutes, and already we've had so much action to kick this one off.
Once you get a few laps under your belt, which they have about 6 of them currently at the moment, you can start getting an idea, if you're getting a little bit of clean air, what sort of pace you can do. Then you can start to calculate your strategies with your spotter, your engineer that you have out there, if you're lucky to have one. And then you can calculate, right, what am I going to do on airforce? So you're in a bit of traffic. Is that going to be holding you up a little bit too much? Got to be careful, keep the car clean as well too. You don't want to be on the damage clock, especially in an endurance race. So lots of that will be going through these drivers' minds at the moment, whilst they're trying to do their strategy.
Have a look at the race pick. Ian Ward cover. What a dive. Nick Clydesdale says, no, thank you. I'll take that spot back. Ian Ward just staying out of the way. He doesn't want to get absolutely wrecked at this early stage of the race, but that was a very bold, that's the flash of the lights, unsurprisingly from Ian Ward, because that was a very, very ambitious move from Clydesdale. And I think Clydesdale might have even handed that one back, probably acknowledging that maybe that was a little too ambitious. Perhaps a big moment. You can see Cruz McVie just try and get the power down out of the corner. And Michael Whiting whips across the back of that Aston Martin. He's up the inside now. Mick Poley's going to just stay tucked in
the background as well too. Looking for a 2-for-1 special here if he can get it. But he's going to see them side by side up the road. That's Liam and Michael going for it absolutely too, with Mick lurking in the background as well as Chris Miller. He's there in the Fishy Motorsports entry, and I think Jackson Starrett's caught on the back of him. Jackson Starrett's just got past Chris. So absolute the hot zone right now. We're going to be throwing a blanket over these cars is essentially from P9 downwards. You can see any pictures, and there's contact as well.
Yeah, Chris McVie, he made it just a little bit of contact a few corners ago, and that bumper's been barely hanging on. As we see Coates and Palmer both picking up slowdowns in the background. This is what I said about Misano, Biggles. We're going to get so very, very many of those slowdowns coming up. They could be race deciding at certain points, and you can see, despite that, all of these drivers really flirting with the Jackson Starrett makes the move up the inside. And can you believe Miller's looking to do it at the same time? We're almost 3 wide there through one of the narrowest parts of this Misano circuit. These guys not holding anything back in this early part of the race.
Oh, they have fun, and why not, isn't it? It is pretty clean fun, you'd have to say, at the moment. Yeah, of course, there's a bit of door banging goes on, but that's racing. That's what it is. Even with that damage at the moment, it still looks like it's a pretty fast car. So don't count out. Sometimes a lot of this is cosmetic, but you can see there's a gaggle of cars behind. So they're definitely, this fighting is costing them some time for those drivers up the road.
Yeah, it's tough. Like this is one where you don't want to let anyone get too far away and in front. And it's such an easy track to get into that slipstream and feel like you've got a whole lot of extra pace, but you end up just swapping positions back and forth. And for all of these drivers, save perhaps for Cruz McVie, there's not actually a lot of benefit to being out in front. McVie probably needs to stay where he is more than any of these guys because of that missing bumper. But for the rest of them, they can take it or leave it at this stage.
Yeah, they're trying to get past him at the moment. Chris Miller is. Jackson Austin. Benjamin's not too far in the background there too. So they've got the 2 Ferraris there behind the McLaren. I'm sure there are a lot of Formula One. I would love to be hearing that, but of course in this situation it's a little different over here.
That isn't it?
And of course there's the Aston Martin in the mix too. So it does. Maybe it's a Formula One in 2026 race. But for now, this is where it's
struggling for pace, isn't he? He's finding himself just dropping back through the order, and I think a lot of that is probably to do with the lack of downforce he's going to have on the front end. You wouldn't think it adds a huge amount, but when you've got we've got someone off in the background that looks like Justin Austin has gone off in the background and hit the wall in a big way. I'm not quite sure how he's ended up across on that side of the track. I was actually looking over at the timing tower when he went into it.
He could go. He can't really go anywhere because there's so it's still early in the race where there's no major gap that he can swing that car around because he'll have to go onto the racing line. Doesn't want to go on the racing line.
I actually think that car's done, mate. I think that car is done, and I'm half expecting. Oh no, he's going to try and get it moving. Oh no, that rear axle is that is not looking healthy at all. I think he's probably stranded there, and I reckon we're about to see
Might be
our first safety car of the evening.
Yeah.
Although it looks like he's far enough off the track they've allowed him to tow without the safety car.
Yeah, the tow truck's come out there and picked that car up and has taken on the way to pit road at the moment. So maybe not our first safety car this evening. Although the Cruz McField's gone in, yeah, fix that damage. He may have thought, okay, there's a possibility of safety car, so if I jump in now and get that done and fixed, I may be able to come out there and not lose too many laps, or lose a lap at all.
The biggest problem, though,
staying green.
The biggest problem, Biggles, is with this 50% fuel cap, there's really very little benefit to coming in so early, because you're just going to top off the tiniest amount of fuel. It's not really going to be an undercut situation at this stage. You're going to get. I'd take a gamble. These guys are probably going through about 3 or 4 litres a lap here at Misano.
Yeah, the only thing you would do,
but
yeah, well, Ryan Palmer gets a pass there, I think, on Benjamin up in the inside, so he'll go up 8 positions there for the number 16 Merc. Ryan Palmer doing Ryan Palmer things, getting the job done. But yeah, it's also a gamble because, you know, early days you kind of more risk of a safety car coming out, of course, because of the fact that the cars are all bunched up. There's that hard lick into the fence. That's
so lucky not to wipe out another car and to slide back across the track, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That was very, very close for Jackson Austin, and yeah, he was lucky not to get T-boned there.
And I think Cruz McNeil also had an incident, my friend. Jumped him from 17 places down currently at the moment on P30. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but
I think that's probably just from the probably just from the pit stop in and out, isn't it? Surely.
I'm seeing a
Mitch Curry comes in. So
yes,
he's getting in.
Such a slow pit stop entrance there, it can catch you off guard.
Oh, it really is. Yeah,
it's a crazy slow pit stop.
And let's take a quick look at that, just so everyone at home understands, you know, the difference in pace here. That's not what I was clicking on. Thank you.
That was the overtake. Yeah, here it is.
This is
how slow it is. And, yeah, and you think, okay, you know, where is it? Oh, you're still coming in the pit lane at the moment.
That's on the way out of the pits.
But the entrance is crazy slow. Yeah.
Right, Mitch Curry's just come in. So let's take a look at this. You watch how much pace he has to wipe off here to get it down to the pit speed limit. And you've got this awkward left-hand turn, and then look at the crawl as these cars fly past on the main straight. It feels so slow.
Heading into pit road pretty early. Not sure if he did any damage on that. Mitch Curry stopped in there for about 12 seconds stationary overall, shy of a minute.
Lucas Baker, he's starting to gel with this Lamborghini, considering he's jumped into it tonight for more or less the first time in this series. Anyhow, I'm sure he's given it a fair bit of driving before now, but certainly is working well for him. He's up 5 spots so far. Alex Seekers just ahead of him from Murray Performance, also up 5 though. As Michael Whiting goes into the pits, he'll lose a few spots there. But it does make me wonder, you know, how many pit stops? Well, it's pretty early. But it's also about where you'd start to see a half tank of fuel in these run out. It's perhaps a touch ahead of them getting really, really low on it. But when we think about our regular, you know, 40-minute races and needing one pit stop to get it home there, yeah, this is, look, it's a little early for some of them, Biggles, but you've also got the opportunity to get some clear air. And when you've had as many battles early on as we've already seen, less than 20 minutes into this enduro, maybe a bit of clear air is just what some of these guys need to just settle in and put in some pretty standard kind of laps over and over and over again.
Yep, that's how you gain places in endurance races, of course, is by racing the clock, not necessarily racing your opponent so much, because, you know, you might be hanging around from now, but later on in the race, you might be in completely different positions, of course, in pit stops as well, too. So undercuts perhaps could be the way to go. You never know. Safety car also throws a spanner in the mix, because that can come out any time. If you take any pit stop, then you can just jump everybody essentially in the field if they go on the pit road. But then you're a little bit different on your fuel strategy. So there's so much to play with.
It absolutely is. Mr. Washington just calling out that Thomas Hinzier and the Corvette has been very, very quick in some clean air, and not wrong at all. He's just improved his best time as well. So we see another slowdown for Lucas Baker back there. Story of the night here, and will be every time we come to Misano, I reckon. Just those little yellow flags. There's almost a drinking game in it, I reckon. Drinking, you know,
him here as well,
non-alcoholic mixes, of course. But,
not quite yet. He's got to try to defend Chris Miller for the Funky Fishy Motorsports entrance right behind him, tucked up on his gearbox, trying to put that pressure, knowing, I don't know whether or not those race control messages are relayed through to the drivers, but if not, we'll spot it, we'll certainly let you know. And that slowdown's been cleared, so Chris managed to get up to him. I think it was about a second between them prior to that, so now he's going to look at attacking. One's very wide to the Lucas Bass.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing the limits of what's available in terms of track width here, and it's something you've got to do, of course, to be quick, but Misano just seems to punish it so much more than any other track that I've seen on iRacing. No doubt about it. Alright, we'll stay on board with Miller for a little while here, just so you can get a feel for how this track looks. It is
So, Chris, I bet you that should be your call sign there. Miller time. That's kind of like a little something as Hammer time as well as Miller time.
I feel like it's Hammer time is probably stolen from somewhere, just quietly. And I've got a sneaky suspicion I know exactly from where, but anyway, we'll allow it because, you know, Hamilton's a decent driver. Reese Wakefield, 34 dead, 134.000 his last start. Not his fastest, but I do always love a bit of precision in the timing tower like that.
Just looking to it, looks like Ethan Johnson on the track, but not too bad. Ethan Johnson he's running P7. He's right on the Koala Cartel entrance there of Chris Lashbrook. In fact, they're side by side now. Ethan Johnson and Liam Tipping. Apologies on that one. So there it is.
And that hairpin really is already proving to be a pretty popular spot to put that move on. It does, however, mean that someone can just tuck in behind you for this run down towards the next low. Look, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't quite call it a hairpin, but it's a fairly slow corner getting around that left-hand turn there.
And kind of a paperclip. Well, this one right now is your paperclip.
Yeah, it really is a big slide. Look at that. Johnson's just pushing the limits of those tyres. And yeah, as Washington's saying in the chat, you know, one thing to watch for Field Cup people, double stinting the tyres. So it could be useful to avoid the tyre warm-up with fairly short stints. I mean, yes, but also if you're driving it like Ethan Johnson, you're probably going to chew through the tyres quickly enough that you might just want to stop every time for a fresh set. It's a tough call.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at the pit stops that we've had at the moment. Some of the drivers have done about 12-second stage during 13 seconds. Some of them done 4, just shy of 5 seconds. So definitely those drivers shy of 5 seconds are not taking tyres.
No.
I'm not quite sure the other drivers, because there could be a little bit of damage they chipped out on that timing clock as well. So that's something. But you'd have to say, well, I mean, maybe you can let us know out there in the chat. What is the time up on the jacks if you have to take tyres?
Yeah, look, from memory, I think it's about 30-odd seconds, and I'm sure Jeremy will correct me here, but you're going to expect quite a bit more, and those early stops, they won't have had time to put in a full tank of fuel, so these drivers will be looking for tyres when you actually do run them right down, if they're going to take tyres. Now, that said, a set of GT3 tyres, you probably expect, give or take, about an hour out of them fairly comfortably. You see a bit of a flash of the light there from Lucas Baker. Not sure what he thinks has gone on with RC, because maybe we've missed something there. Josh Harris now looking to put the move on Luke Hyden. He's on the inside, but doesn't quite have the overlap he'd probably like. Again, we see the move done right there. It's a popular little spot tonight, and Harris goes through to 22nd. Starts to open the gap up immediately to Hyden behind.
Yeah, Hyden was up 10, Josh is up 4. So big gains between those drivers. That's what I'd like to see. Just chip away. Couple of places here, couple of places there. All of a sudden you realise, hey, I'm in the top 10. That's all it takes in an endurance race. We're only 22 minutes in our 1.5 hour endurance race. So still plenty of time. Of course, those pit stops have to come from most of that field there. You have to go down to Cruz McField there in P27. That's been in and out of pit box on lap 8. Or lap 15.
You know, has been sneaking on through that we haven't really seen much of. He's not shown up in any of these battle packs, but just working his way through the field is none other than Charlie Milliken, who incidentally I do have to update. I've got him mentioned as a privateer, but he is racing with Race on Oz here tonight. He's up 11 spots, and he's just kind of snuck that on in, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Good job.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got 11 positions gained already in an endurance race. Impressive, because running a P19.
Oh, it's come undone for Ethan Johnson.
Ethan Johnson, yes.
Just pushing a little too hard, and around he goes. You can see him trying to get the car moving. He's just burning those rear tyres, though. Bit of frustration, maybe. Nice little flick spin.
Yeah, off the racing line, so it gives enough ample room for everybody to see him out of the corner.
Oh, if they could see through the clouds of his tyre smoke, because that's the other thing.
Well, if you're a NASCAR driver, there's no problem, mate, because that's what you see on turns 3 and 4, or 1 and 2.
I reckon that's probably, though, a bit of a result of just how hard he's been pushing those rears. You've already seen quite a lot of wiggling around from him, and it's certainly not going to have helped that he's put that much extra heat into them by lighting them up there. I'm going to tip a bit of a pit stop incoming for Ethan Johnson. He's got about 20% of the lap to go, so keep your eye on it. I reckon he's about to come in and get those tyres changed over now.
Jared's called it.
I'm calling it.
Jared's
we'll see how he goes.
ball.
Ryan
like
Palmer's
that
in.
machine that Tom Hanks was talking to in the big movie. Yep, Ryan Palmer's in.
Johnson continues. Okay, I'm surprised by that. But yeah, let's see what happens, I suppose. G'day, Bud Club. Go, Bud. Why not?
Don't tell that to Chris Miller.
Yeah, that's going to get a little awkward. Although, to be fair, Bud would be a great nickname for Chris Miller. If that is his nickname and that's who you're talking about, then awesome. I love it. This group, unable to separate.
Big battle for P10, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what you're looking at in your pictures currently at the moment. So, fantastic racing with them. Mario Performance Racing entrance there, followed by Alec Tzigis.
And this one's been going on for a while.
Oh,
that's a brave little move, just trying to squeeze the nose in there. This group has been together for a long time. They've had a couple sort of drop in and drop out with pit stops and the like happening, but Starrett, Zekas, Baker and Miller all just circulating around this P10 kind of position at the moment. They're settling in pretty nicely. Ryan Palmer, I was going to say Ryan Palmer's crashed. He hasn't. He's just leaving pit lane.
Yeah, I know. It's throwing our telemetry off a little bit here.
Got to keep an eye on that. If he's just left pit lane, he's not actually crashed. It's just
probably
that slow.
Increase the speed limit.
Coming out.
I'm just thinking at the moment. What do I have mine on? Well, crash threshold speed is at 30 kilometers an hour. Increase that to about 50. Okay. That might cover it.
Well, that's look. I appreciate your optimism. Honestly. It's you're going so slow.
Yeah, if you're going anything less than 50 kilometers an hour, you're too slow.
Too slow. Too slow. Would you believe I'm sitting here trying to just update the same, and I actually can't for the life of me. There you go. Got mine down to 20k an hour here, and it seems to cut most of them out. But Ryan Palmer just getting very, very slow there as we see this battle continuing. No one quite able to find a way to push through, and I'm not sure it'd make a huge amount of difference just yet either. Just behind them though, look at this, too wide. Brad Coates is going to go up the inside of Ethan Johnson, forces him wide. Not a slowdown, but we're going through. Johnson shuts the door across the nose of both of them. That's going to cause some issues as you see Coates and Faulkner come together. Coates is looking around the outside, Faulkner's looking around the outside. Coates probably makes the smarter decision and just drops back in, and he's going to be a line astern with Ben Faulkner as they come on down. Faulkner's got a bit of a better run, and Brad Coates unfortunately cost himself a position there. But is Hayden Veld. Oh,
there it is. Contact.
There it is. And Ethan Johnson
they're still pointing
off again.
somehow in the same direction. But that's the thing. This is sprint racing at the moment between some of the drivers. You've got to remember it's an endurance race. If you can get a nice clean overtake, get the job done, but you wouldn't want to be elbows out just yet. We've still got a ton of time left in this race, over an hour. And yeah, you want to get in position, but you also don't want to get on the risk of having been turned at the moment, because that field is still not too far down the road there. You will drop at least 10 to 15 places if you get yourself into a spin and you're in a difficult place to rejoin. So that's what you got to tell the boys out there, that race, but race fair. Okay, unless it's 10 minutes ago, then just absolutely go for it.
Well, yeah, it's a different story altogether, isn't it?
Yeah.
But keep an eye on this. It's still the battle here for 10th. Sekus, Miller and Baker still right in amongst it. We see Ethan Johnson picking up a slowdown and he tries to recover that. We'll go back and take another look at that one because Johnson just seems to find himself in all sorts of trouble here tonight, and we'll see if there's a little bit of contact, big contact there that spins him, and those rear tyres really have been taking.
You know what he needed, my friend?
Him.
He needed a little bit more real estate.
Didn't he just? Didn't he just?
Sort of red white.
No free real estate here tonight though for Ethan Johnson. And the iRap Designs replay as we continue to watch this one. Biggles, I might ask you to take the comms for just a moment.
Of course, sir.
And I will keep flicking some pictures around for you as we go.
Yeah, just keep it on this nice, fantastic battle at the moment. It's still brewing, of course, around that P10 position. Jack's just trying to hold off Alex. He's trying to hold off Chris. He's trying to hold off Lucas. So absolutely fantastic racing here. Got your message out there. Thanks for that. So it's about 20 seconds for tyres. Cheers. We are seeing some more pit stops coming in as well too. Chris Lashbrook from P5 is heading in. Mick Poley from P6 or so at the time is heading into pit road. So that's first of the drivers essentially in the top 20. Now, as well as these drivers heading to pit road as well. So that's where you're going to get Jackson Starrett going in and Alex is going in. That's the call up for most of the drivers. Dean Jacobson down there for the B Electrical Racing on odds. Ethan Johnson's heading as well. This is around the time, so it's about 28 minutes into this race. And the drivers are likely to go down. We'll see whether or not some of those drivers are going to do any of those changes on the tyres. And it may be because we're seeing at least 20-second pit stops at the moment, stationary for the drivers in the box. That means that they're taking some boots. Looks like it to me.
That suggests it, doesn't it? But what? Yep. Chris Lashbrook, 22 seconds in the box. Mick Poley, 22. Jackson Starrett, 22. Like they're lining up with 22-second changes. So I think a number of these drivers heading on fresh tyres. That is a little surprising to me, I'll be honest. My goodness, look at the number of pit stops.
They come out in traffic too as well too, because Luke Hayden in there hasn't come down the pit road yet, and it's right in the mix of all these drivers that have come out as well too, so it's going to be very, very difficult. But as you're seeing this nice little battle up the road there for P2 and P3, but they're heading to the pit road at the same time, so it'll be a battle of the pit crew, as you're seeing.
Nathan Bowman well off track. I'm not sure what's happened there, but there's obviously been some contact behind with what looks like Brian East. We'll go back and we'll take a look at that in a moment. He'll be waiting to perhaps redress that, unless there's some damage that we can't see from these angles. And indeed, he tows it.
Got a tow.
So maybe a bit more damage than we thought. We'll go back and take a quick look at that one, because I was not expecting him to have to tow for that.
I'm wondering these drivers are going to be coming back out here into a lot of traffic around that P10 battle, which is what they're not going to want to see unless they're too far back. I'm just trying to see. Some of those drivers are coming out now. Hayden is coming out.
That's a big hit. Brian East had nowhere to go. Nathan Bowman in front was just all over the shop there. And yeah, Brian East came out of that corner and absolutely collected him. I wonder how much damage that's done to the rear end on Nathan Bowman's car.
Keep an eye out this one too. Chris Lashbrook and Mick Poley are going to be coming out, where these other drivers are similar area here. Have they just cleared them? I think they have. I think they've cleared a lot of them. So very, very lucky. Just trying to get my head around currently in the moment. Yeah, it seems like the undercut is necessarily paid off. Race leaders in.
And look at some of the gaps that have opened up now on the other side of this. Once with everyone coming in for the pit stops now, those intervals,
Denny
you know,
follow on in too.
10 seconds, 30 seconds, 12 seconds up the top end of this field is pretty full on.
Just having a look at Hayden at the moment for Sabrina's Carpentry entrance. Is he going to get a jump on anybody up the road at the moment? He's currently running in P5. Two race leaders are in. I think they might have had a bit of enough on him. So Benjamin Falker comes in and Brad. So everybody else comes in. He is essentially in the final sector at the moment here, Hayden. And Reese Wakefield's going to come back out. It shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. Denny P's in the pit lane still. Benjamin's in the pit lane. Brad Coates But now Hayden is coming around the start-finishing line now, and he's going to jump 2 of them. Will he jump Danny P? He will, but he won't jump Reese.
Reese is way too far out in front at this stage. Thompson's in right behind still. Just enjoying the tow behind there. But yeah, Danny P finds himself, what, 5 seconds back, almost as much gap back to him as there is forward to his teammate in Reese Wakefield, who is out all on his own in front. Look at this. Look at the amount of clean air that Reese Wakefield has.
Yeah, it's his domination of the race at the moment, which is Reese Wakefield's very capable, of course, of winning races and endurance races, no problems. Because there's a long way to go at the moment, you've got to get your head down and just continue doing best. He'll be fighting his own delta times, as well as, of course, there'll become a bit of traffic. There's some contact, and unfortunately, it looks like a bit of a blinking.
Yeah, Luke Hyden,
maybe you'd have to say it could be a bit of netcode, some sort of internet connection issues that occurred when they come together on that one, which is always difficult, as you know, for a race driver.
I think we've seen that before with Luke Hyden. I'm sure I've seen him have a couple of moments at some point. It may not have been this season, but he's not had a great run with those connection issues. It's a bit weird. And,
it was at the worst point too, isn't it? If
side by side.
If you're about a couple of seconds away, okay, fine, that's one thing. But literally, when you're on a door of another car,
like we see here with Ryan Palmer and James Salhani, 9th and 10th, absolutely side by side. Salhani just finds himself a little bit slower than the Merc through there, with Palmer pushing on through. And Ryan Palmer took his stop on lap 15.
Yes.
So he's
James
a few laps
19.
ahead. I mean, we're into, what, lap 21 now, if my maths
22.
is any good. 22, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon what you're seeing here is purely the difference in how long it takes these GT3 tyres to heat up. It really does take a good, 2 or 3 laps before we can start to push hard, and Ryan Palmer's got all of the advantage of that.
Black flag too, so it might have been. Oh, he's got a meatball now too. He's gone off the track somewhere. Something's happened.
Well, there he is, bouncing across on his. That's a unique line to the pit entry. I'll give him that much. Ethan Johnson finds his way on him. We'll go back and we'll take a look and see if we can figure out just what happened to get him there. Brad Coates and Dean Jacobson, meanwhile, for 13th and 14th. Somehow, these drivers just unable to separate themselves from each other at the moment, which is, look, makes for great viewing for us, but it can get frustrating in an endurance race, particularly where you don't get a lot of time. We see 3 black flags now. Ethan Johnson, Chris McPhee, and Nathan Bowman.
They'll be on the damage clock, I'd say.
I wonder if there's a pit lane speed infringement involved in any of those.
Possibly. Yeah, iRacing will throw that up there if you're speeding in the pit road, as well as race control of the things. And going back to that situation too, if your car is blinking because of your fuel, I mean, you don't know that as a racing driver, of course, but the rest of the field will see you blinking, and we see you blink on the broadcast too. Race control should be at some point, if it occurs a couple of times, on the horn to you and say, okay, don't go too close battling to anybody at this point until this kind of stabilizes itself, because we want to make it fair play.
Yeah, look, it's a tricky one, right? Obviously, iRacing introduced the connection flag, which is meant to pull up drivers who have had consistent connection issues. I'm not convinced that it's working the way it should in hosted sessions.
This way. Yeah, drivers still aren't really 100% aware, and where it is too. So more importantly, if you have live race control like we do, they can inform the drivers on the radio and say, look, if it's getting a little bit too much, then just don't get so close battling. Continue to race if it sorts it out, because it can. Wow, there it is.
That was Ethan Johnson's off just a moment ago. He was pushing hard.
Was that tactical, or just pushed too hard?
I think he was just pushing too hard. Saw the slow car ahead. We'll go back and we'll take an onboard look at this, because I think
it's got to be cold tyres too, right? The engine just came in the pit road on lap 21.
Yeah, that won't have helped. Won't have helped. But let's take a look from onboard. Ethan Johnson, and watch this car up ahead. Much slower, had a bit of a moment on the brakes, finds himself very wide, then adjusts left, and that was
there's a runoff there, but not
there.
300 kilometers an hour, well, 260 or something probably doing at that point.
Yeah, that was a heavy impact, and unfortunately, it could well mean the end of his night if he's already used his fast repair. That said, he is back out on track, so looks like he may have gotten away with it.
Could have a nice Thomas Hins, as that was mentioned out there in the chat too. one to look out here for the Henry James Racing entrance. He's been keeping Hayden in that P2 position at bay quite well. Been following around. Look at that kitty litter kicked up on the track too. You do not want to drive out to that kitty litter there at the moment. There's no traction whatsoever to get the power down. But now a bit of lap traffic coming up at the moment too for that big battle for P2. That'll be one to look out for. Is Thomas going to be happy just to sit back at the moment there and follow Sabrina's carpentry car, or is he going to be looking at, that's what's showing on my timing here. Yeah.
Hayden Veld, of course. No, look, I know he's got the Sabrina's carpentry entered in there.
Oh, it's changed, has it? So
I've got him with Evolution Racing Team, as he probably should be, but I am aware he's put Sabrina's carpentry into
That's what's coming from the iRacing, so you need to change that.
I mean, why bother, honestly? It's always a bit of fun. Always a bit of fun.
Yeah, well, Jared does it on his, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, look, we've got it here on the broadcast. That's all that matters. Keith Logan latching onto the back of Josh Harris here in this battle for P20. The two of them just circulating at the moment. Bit of smoke in the background. I don't think we've seen anyone have too much of an off. Although, looks as though... Oh, tell me it's not Ethan Johnson again. Tell me it's not.
It was, unfortunately.
Cold tyres have caught him out again. I think he's actually, there they go. I think he's actually, he swapped the tyres again because he was in for another 20 seconds.
You got to try to calm your driver down a little bit. It's frustrating sometimes because you're trying to make up some time you've lost and you're trying to go overdrive the car. It happens. I've seen it a lot, and if you get on the radio, you can try to calm the driver down. Unless it's Fernando Alonso, of course, then say just cut his radio off if you keep talking.
Well, there is that, right? That's an option.
But you got to say, mate, there's still. I mean, we're only 40 minutes into a 1.5 hour race, so you can get your head back in the game here.
You're not even halfway.
Get yourself back in there, yeah. Just don't overdrive the car yet. Nurse it back to a comfortable way that you've been driving the car before, and just continue that way. You're not going to make yourself up a couple of minutes that you might have just lost. So just go for it. So anything can happen in endurance races. All of a sudden you can find yourself back in P10, into the top 10. Like, how many times have we interviewed people at the end of a race at Jerome? We're like, I never expected I was getting myself in the top 10.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Particularly, the unexpected podiums, they come along, and sometimes it's just about that long-term racecraft, particularly in these longer races where you do just have to stick in there. You can see Salhani just giving a bit of a flash of the lights behind Ryan Palmer. I don't know whether that's or as Josh Harris finds himself very, very wide there on the exit as he tries to avoid Keith Logan, I think, in the flashing lights. Tell me I'm probably
Josh's
not
camera
far
up there, like sees. No, it's going to be.
Look, he's pretty. He's pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? Composed when he is, in the car. He doesn't tend to show a lot of emotion, even if he does have a concern. We'd have to catch it in the moment, of course, because our in-car feeds don't allow us replays in the same way that we can take a look on track.
Yes, of course.
But I reckon that there was probably barely the hint of a bit of frustration across his face at that point, and immediately back into race mode. Jackson Starrett behind takes a beautiful line up the inside and just waltzes past Keith.
Kitty litter as well too. Yeah, Keith is just left off at the moment. The Southern Crossing the entrance. He went in lap 16, so he's in a little bit of a different strategy. There's other drivers that came in a couple of laps later on. A little bit of wiggle coming out of the corner there from Josh Harris too. Might be Keith is playing this one a little bit differently in strategy. If he keep up the same pace of these guys, which he can, he wants to get back into that 35, 36 club of times. So that's the way you tell your driver sometimes too. Like, if they're pretty much doing the same lap times that you're doing, all right, sit with them, roll with them.
Absolutely.
And perhaps even save yourself a little bit of fuel whilst you're doing it if you're running behind them. And and work out your strategies a little bit deeper into this race.
Yeah, still plenty of time to go, and really with that 50% fuel, that 50% fuel cap. Just
Jackson
thinking,
one back off Josh Harris too.
He's just knocked that one through. Yeah. Of course he has.
Yeah.
Like with the 50% fuel cap, we've seen all of these drivers coming in around about 26 minutes in. I think it was. We saw most of the field come in to to refill the tank, which suggests to me that at best, big contact
Sorry, Ryan
there.
Ryan and Michael have come together, my friend, and Michael, unfortunately, for Fishy Motorsport's entrance, is the one that's not going to be the happy camper at that one. I think he's going to realise that Santa Claus might have given him coal under his in his stocking.
Yeah, certainly looks that way. We'll go back and take another look. I don't know there's much of anything in it, just Palmer took the approach.
Was there a gap? Yeah, and
well,
Ryan.
It's about the overlap.
Michael will say no on that one.
Yeah, it's all about that overlap. And I will leave that one to the stewards because that was a very, very tough one to call.
Yeah, look at different angles.
It does need a slower and
plus, we only look at certain things too in the simple racing. I mean, it's simply done, isn't it? Here on there, but it's complex, really well behind the scenes. They could have been door banging for the last couple of laps, and we didn't have the camera, so we don't know the situation. The race control will look at it, those details.
Liam Jensen and Kyle Ridley back here. Ridley, not the only driver who hasn't moved either up or down through the field. He's been pretty consistent here. He came in for his pit stop about 6 or 7 laps ago, but still sitting in 25th, just circulating at the moment. I must check in with him because he's certainly not got the pace here that we were probably expecting to see from him based on past performances. I've said this the last couple of weeks. I wonder if the setups just aren't quite gelling for Kyle this time around because the pace just hasn't been there. Josh Harris, meanwhile, Jackson Starrett have swapped positions again, and Starrett now looking for an opportunity if he can get past. But it's going to be a tricky one to get it done as we go on board with the Sideways Esport Porsche.
What's that saying? His race lead there?
Danny, brake please.
Danny, brake please. A reference to Danny P, of course, who's currently running in P4. He doesn't need to be braking too much at this point, but yes.
Early on, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm sure the 88 boys will correct me at some point. So late last season or early this season that there was a rather late break from Danny P that was a bit of contact. So they thought they'd just put a bit of a reminder on the back of the car there.
Well, keep an eye on James and Ryan Palmer. James wants this place back, and Ryan says, well, I'm up 14. We'll make that 15, 14, hovering around that currently at the moment, in 8th and 9th place.
That was a bit of a moment there. Palmer was going for that over-under and just almost ran straight into the back of Salhani's Mustang, which is either very, very lucky or brilliant positioning from Salhani to maintain his position there and just not make that move as easy as it could have been for Palmer. And around we go again. Halfway point now of this 90-minute endurance race. At the moment, Reese Wakefield out in front with around about a 3-second lead over Haydenveld. Thomas Hinz currently sitting in third. We've seen the first pit stops from pretty well every single car on track. We've seen a couple of cars actually take a couple of stops for various reasons. Ethan Johnson comes in and he's sitting in the pits and has been there for a while now. So I do wonder if that's the black flag that he's serving. Is it a bit of repairs going on? I don't know that we'll see him back out on track anytime soon this evening.
So we're 46 minutes into this race with 43 minutes remaining. A lot of those drivers went down there hovering, give or take, on about lap 20, which is about 28 minutes, give or take, into this race. So we would be expecting these drivers in, and I'd say, obviously 46 minutes into this race.
We're going to about another 5.
Probably around the hour mark.
Yeah, about another 5 or 10 minutes, I think we'll start to see the second pit stops flow through for the front runners. Now, that said, if they stay on that pace...
So what about the last pit stop, of course, because then you've got to stretch it. You're only going to have... might be a little shy of that last 30 minutes of the race that you have to try to...
Yeah, no one's getting away with 2 stops here tonight at this stage. Looking at the pace out in front, Reese Wakefield's best to 33.4. Quite a number of mid 33 second times at the top end of the field. Wakefield, Veld and Hinz all running a bit off their best pace, but still in the low 34s on the last lap, although Hins actually went 33.8. They're not fuel saving out in front. They're committed, knowing that they're not going to be able to fuel save enough to get this down to a two-stopper. So they may as well go hard and make that third stop just worthwhile by being at full race pace for the full 90 minutes. That's a big ask, you know, to give 90 minutes of back-to-back minute 33 laps here at Misano. It's going to take it out of them, that's for sure.
If I was at the back of the field around 25th, 26th, 27th, something like that, I would probably say to a driver, is it possible for you to just do two stops and go to the end? Just try a gamble there. You're going to jump a ton of cars if you can, because it's it's over a minute pit stop generally here. And currently, just to let everybody know, the gap from race leader Reese Wakefield down to, say, Charlie running in P17 is a minute.
Yeah, it's a massive gap.
I mean, he could gain a ton if the fuel save and save one pit stop. But, there's those drivers back there that are doing, lap times of 35s, 36s and so forth. Whereas race leaders, as you mentioned, are doing 34s and had been doing 33s at certain points of this race too. So they can't fuel save up there. They'll have to do that. We assume anyway, the third pit stop.
Well, yeah, it's going to happen. There's no two ways about it. Mick Whiting comes in, Dean Jacobson goes through. Mitch Curry checks into the chat to say that he is done for the night. Racing with 20 frames is not it, gents. That's
ouch.
That's rough. And there's been a couple of creeping issues in this latest build that I don't think anyone has quite figured out the cause. But some of these tracks just seem to, I don't know. Look, don't quote me on the software engineering side, but I'm leaning towards memory leak of some sort, because we're hearing more and more reports of people starting off fine and the frames just dropping throughout the race. And to hear that Mitch has gotten down to 20 frames, 45 minutes in, that tracks with what we've been hearing around the place. Hopefully something will get sorted soon, because it sucks to see people taken out of the race by that sort of thing.
I can understand. I mean, I'm pulling 60 at the moment, but I've got everything turned up, of course, for broadcast graphics to look good. We do, yes. But we're not racing drivers where you need every frame counts. So if you're pulling 20, then that's just stuttering. It's very, very difficult to focus on that, so you can understand why the boss man out there says it's undrivable, and I completely tip the hat to you on that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough as we see. It's Cruz McPhee off in the background, who finds himself at the moment down in 30th. And a few drivers having a really rough run of it tonight. Already lapped so far: Jackson Austin, Nathan Bowman, Chris Burke, Cruz McPhee, Luke Hayden, Brian East, all a lap down or more at this point. Ethan Johnson still in the pits. Mitch Curry, of course, parking it after almost parking other people with those frame rates. And it's proving to be pretty challenging. There you go. Mitch Curry reporting exactly the same issue. Started at roughly 60 frames and has slowly dropped through the entire race to the point where it's undrivable. It's one they've got to try and get a handle on. I don't know what sort of progress there's been, but I know it would
be good if iRacing was to say, hey, because you pay monthly rates and stuff like that, and get some sort of support out there, that you can send them sort of a replay file or something like that and look at that.
Credit to them.
Get much from it.
Credit to them. They're pretty good at tracking this stuff down. And
enough people report problems, then they should be able to have enough data. It's still about the data, I don't imagine.
Well, yeah, and that's the tough part, right? Because it seems to be so inconsistent. Mitch, and I'm sure you'll correct me here if I'm wrong, but he's had no issues in the first 3 rounds. Tonight, there's no rain on track. There's no massive field. We're still only pushing 35,
should
36
have a lot
cars.
of the graphics. Probably a lot of drivers have a lot of the goodies turned down as well too, because they only need to see what they see in the cockpit. They don't need to see all the beautiful stuff that we have.
Just show me the track. Just show me the track. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Like a 1980s arcade game, just a couple of lines just to show you where the car's going to be going.
Look, honestly, that is exactly how I race in VR. I've got no grand things. I've got no trackside objects. I've basically got the track, and that's about it, because I enjoy a solid 90 frames without any drops or stutters. It's just part of wanting that racing to be as smooth as possible. Yeah, look, Misano is definitely resource heavy. I will admit I've added a couple of little widgets to my stream deck for tonight's broadcast after some of the issues we've seen throughout this series, and it's no shade on the MC series. It's purely, having cars like 40-50 cars on the grid is really taxing from a broadcast perspective, because we're trying to make sure that they're all showing at all times. We saw in round one, we had drivers, we had cars popping in and out because historically we've not had that many cars on track, and so we haven't had it turned up that far. But now that we're running this a bit higher, I tell you what, my argument for a new CPU is certainly looking stronger and stronger at this point, because
get the AMD. Make sure it has a 3D in it too.
9800X3D is on the cards at this point.
That's
because
the one that you need for iRacing. Unfortunately, the Intels don't cut it to the AMDs for iRacing. Tends to,
it's all that single core.
The 3D. Yep,
absolutely.
And but anyway, there is some settings sometimes I found in the past, you'll be sitting there and just dropping frames tooth and nail. I can't figure out, untick one little setting in the iRacing settings and go, oh, there it is. And bang, all of a sudden you get an insane frame rate. But it is track by track sometimes, which I think that too. That's something iRacing need to establish, is like, a graphics settings that you can have saved, customized for each track, like you do with cameras and stuff.
Yeah, look, it'd be nice.
That way you can, because Daytona's a murder. Or if you have 45 cars in Daytona and they all head down a pit lane, you can say bye-bye to the best computer on the planet. Can't handle that.
We can all live in hope for the new graphics engine.
That's all. It's just a saving. Just save it per track. That's it. Graphics settings per track, you can have it, or you can load your regular, or have it per track. And that way you can really tweak it.
Mate, you're an ideas man. Absolutely. I like your optimism as well. I will give them credit. Certainly, they were quick to respond when the new user interface came out for iRacing. Absolute credit to them on recognising that from a broadcast perspective, we absolutely use the director mode to separate the UI from the main screen, and they had that fixed in a matter of days. Now that said, that's a little less of a challenge than something like per track graphic settings and all of that.
They got camera settings you just have per track.
Well, that's true.
Settings, so
that's true.
It's just a settings file. That's it. You just read an INI file. That's it. You just save it to an INI file and you read it. That's it. And you load it up and you go, this track equals that, like that.
I reckon there's probably a few software engineers out there who would take you to task on that one, mate. That's a guess.
I'll out software engineer there. Out software engineer. A little bit of coding, but anyway, back to the racing action. There is, as you can see, one of the closest battles is between Chris Miller and Lucas Baker on there. Big battle for being ninth at the moment with the Lambo versus the McLaren.
And look, both looking fairly comfy. They're not trying to set lap records at this point. Just get in that groove. They've got decent pace, although they're a little off the 8 ahead of them. They are just quite comfy in there and maintaining that 6, almost 7 second gap back to Dean Jacobson. That's the key at the moment. They know that they've still got really probably 2 pit stops to go, and you've got to wonder if they're starting to think from a strategy perspective. Do they try and stretch it out a little further?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because if you get to this 60-minute marker, that's only 30 minutes to finish it out.
Yeah. Look, the tricky thing is, I did notice before we were on board with Reece Wakefield, I'm never quite sure how accurate this is when we're spectating, but I'm almost certain that I saw the low fuel warning just pop up on his dash unit, which suggests to me... Well, look, I don't think usually we get a view of that, but it seems to have come up, which is about when I'd be expecting him to be needing to think about pitting, right? He's probably got another 2 or 3 laps and ready to come in. But basically,
I didn't know they showed that.
Well, look, I'm not convinced they do. I mean, let's jump on board with Lucas Baker now, for instance.
I'm curious.
And it's a little hard to guess at. Lap 18 was his last pit, so you'd have to think he's getting pretty close. Although he may have already cleared it, I suppose. Just wondering if we can get a a catch of someone entering pit lane as well and see what
Well,
that's
in
at.
Wood's entering pit lane right now.
But there you go. See at the top of Reece Wakefield's dash unit there, you've got the fuel
Yes.
low warning.
I see
would
that.
almost swear that wasn't there when we jumped on board with him initially and we saw it pop up somewhere through there. Now, I'm not seeing it on anyone else's at the moment. You know, Thomas Hinds.
Well, no, it's an oil light, I believe. It says P oil.
Oh well, in that case, I give up, and it's probably not accurate at all, and we can just carry on.
Mick Polly's in. I just don't think they share that information because it's obviously if you can have a spotter join the session because it's obviously you can spectate sessions. They could just go in there, all the drivers and look through it and go, oh, I can find the information out on all the opponents and then relay it back to your driver.
Yeah, see right. It's an oil pressure low message as we get a bit of a view there.
Essentially, you would have your engineers in the racing session of iRacing and pulling all that data. I would, for a fact, if I was trying to support a driver.
100%. Bud Club just checking in. We're about 2 laps from pitting for the leaders. So yeah, hopefully.
So that'll be stretching to the 60-minute mark. They'll make it 2 stops.
Surely not. Surely not. That'd be a massive effort, and that's absolutely what they've got to be trying for here, right?
Yeah, remember too, your final, you're going to burn off your fuel anyway at the end.
That's true. That's true. Maybe 2 stops is going to be on. We're seeing a lot of drivers coming in just shy of where you think they'd be able to make it to, but for Wakefield, Veld and Hinds out in front, their times have certainly dropped off in a big way. They're all sitting, a good half second to second off their best times. So they're certainly not
now,
pushing. Yeah, as we'll see them come across the line here. So Hayden Veld on that lap, a 34.22 from Reece Wakefield, a 33.9 from Veld, a 34.2, let's call it, from Thomas.
He was the quickest man in the last lap, Hayden.
And I wonder how much of that is just the pressure of knowing that Hinds is right on his tail in the Corvette. Maybe just not quite thinking about the fuel situation as much, but realistically, by the time they come around on this lap, looking like a 2-stopper with some fuel saving. I think I'm with you on this, Bud Club. It's going to require some real, what's the word, restraint, I think, from this top 3.
Oh, to get a driver to restrain, that's when you know that drivers that are good endurance races are the ones that can restrain themselves because, it's not about ultimate pace in endurance races.
No,
slow and steady wins the race. That's essentially what they say. Of course, slow and steady, we're talking about, doing one driver's lap, driving around 1 minute 33 laps. But, I know engineering drivers before in the past, they go, I can go much faster. No, please don't go much faster. Because I'm sitting there crunching numbers at the moment. You ain't going to make it. So
trying to convince a driver to slow down, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
We'll no doubt see. We're past that hour mark, so here we go. Both Veld and Hinds coming in. Reece Wakefield apparently feels like he's got enough to maybe squeeze one more out of this tank of fuel. He did pit, I believe, a lap or 2 later than Veld and Hinds, so he should have just that little bit extra up the sleeve.
That could make all the difference, couldn't it, at the end of the day, if these drivers are running with vapors.
This extra lap means that he's going to have the opportunity to have just a little bit more fuel in the tank, considering what the rest of these drivers will be running on, and that gives him some more options, right? He can push a little bit harder if he needs to. He's going to have to do some fuel saving for sure still, but even an extra 2-3 litres in a full tank for what he's got left to run here, compared to the likes of Veld and Hinds, that's going to be absolute gold for the last half hour of this race.
Yeah, the leaders, obviously the leader of a race, in an endurance race, you always have that advantage of the fact that you can fuel save a little bit. Because you have a gap, you're like, okay, I can afford to drop a second here and 2 seconds there because, push comes to shove. If I need to save that bit of gasoline to hold off a last minute attack for some drivers, then absolutely. But the drivers that are behind are the ones that can't afford to do that because they need to apply the pressure, they need to attack, and of course you can't be fuel saving when you're trying to take the race with a victory away from somebody else. So that's the advantage that Reece Wakefield's going to have in this race. He knows, pending this pit stop right now, as long as it's clean in and out, They should be able to get back into the lead of this race, but how much is the margin going to be? And then how much has he got? JDP's going as well. To then micromanage at the end of the day to bring the victory home.
Yeah, it's all a fuel game, as always with these Enduros, and it does look like quite a few of these drivers have got their sights on a two-stop race, which is a pretty good outcome considering how many of them we saw coming in, you know, a good, and you know, it doesn't sound like much, you know, coming at 26 minutes instead of 30, but to come in 3 or 4 minutes from the end of the first third of the race, it actually really does put a pretty significant amount of extra pressure on us. Milliken gets it all sorts of wrong there and ends up flipping around. Thankfully, it doesn't look like any damage, but that's those tyres just not quite being up to 10. A nice full tank of fuel to pendulum that car around. And have a look at this, though. Here comes Hayden Veld, Thomas Hinds just behind as well. Danny P, a couple of seconds back, but Reece Wakefield back out on track, still 5 seconds ahead. Massive stop, and I cannot see anyone reeling him in here.
A few seconds to Hayden. About a 7-second gap going into that one. Now it's down to 5, down to 4.9.
Yeah, he's going to have to get those tyres up temp very, very quickly, isn't he?
Yep. And there's a lot of traffic out there as well too, so you've got to be navigating through that.
And then Harrod picks up a black flag for himself, so that'll be, I suspect, a drive-through. Unless the pit lane speeding infringement, in which case it's a very, very nasty stop and hold. Thank you, iRacing.
Hayden has to attack here, I'd say. 4.6 is the gap. This is one of the closest he's going to be to Reece Wakefield for the rest of this race, and he's got to get that down, I'd say, to about 3 seconds, keep him in sight on the track, so he also reminds him, so Reece Wakefield's looking in his mirrors, seeing where Hayden is. It's going to be crucial. Of course, Hayden's been looking in his mirrors for some time for Thomas Hinds, so he's looking around behind him, and
yeah, they go through that
like that shadow you're trying to shake, but you can't shake that shadow, Thomas. So 4.6 now the gap between the top two.
You know, I don't think Hayden's going to push too hard here. You know, his worst case scenario right now is a battle for the last couple of laps with Hinds for second or third. But if he pushes too hard and has to take another stop or runs out of fuel altogether, then it's going to be throwing it all away. And I just don't think I don't think the reward for that one extra step on the podium is enough to offset the risk of what might happen if he does decide to push and try and close what is approaching a 5-second gap with 25 minutes to go in this race here at Misano.
You said big points up for grabs, but these are race drivers, my friend. You're only some race drivers, their mentality is race win, is the only one I want.
Got to happen.
A P2 doesn't, for some drivers, a P2 is not acceptable. A P3 is not acceptable. It's like talking to Michael Jordan and say, no, do you want to win a championship or do you want to be runner-up to a championship? He'd be like, no. It's sports mentality. For some people are like, I win or I go.
I win everything, yeah. Win it or bin it, basically.
Win or bin it.
And we've seen a bit of that in our time, haven't we, Pickles?
Yes, we have.
25 minutes to go. It looks a bit like this. Reece Wakefield still maintains the lead of this endurance race here at Misano. Hayden Veld and Thomas Hinds positioned not too far behind in second and third. Danny P 15 odd seconds ahead of Mick Poley, so a big gap there for him. The top four looking almost certain to be made up of those four drivers: Wakefield, Veld, Hinds and Poulton. The only question is, will they remain in the order they are now, or do the next 25 minutes, 24 minutes now, have something a little bit special up the sleeve for us? I don't know. I tend to think at this stage of the endurance race, you've got to throw a bit of caution into your driving and just survive it. You know, you don't want to get this far in and then throw it all away either.
No, Jared, you go for gold. The chat bud hates losing. That's all I say. Yeah, well, guess what? Hayden is in that P2 position. He's going to get down close to 4 seconds at the moment. He has about 4 seconds. So this is exactly what I was saying. This is not a bad thing. It's close, creeping up and down around that, because there's traffic too. But at the same time, you know, he is. If he can keep him for 4 seconds and chip away, there's enough time here with 23 minutes left to chip away at a few tenths here and there. All of a sudden, you're on the back there at the One Performance Racing on the 969 and going for the race win.
At the moment, though, the man in the strongest position, Reece Wakefield, Just sitting comfortably in first, just negotiating traffic as he needs to. You can occasionally catch a glimpse of Veldon Hinds in the background. You see him just a couple of corners behind, but that may as well be a Grand Canyon-sized gap. It's a long, long way for them to still be trying to make up this point. G'day, Dan Mirko. Hope you're doing well, mate. See you there in the chat.
Well, Hayden just caught big time in traffic as well too, mate, so he's going to be very frustrated about that. That's dropped him about 4/10 to our race leader. Thomas is still hot on his tailpipe as well too. And that number 78, they will clear that traffic now, but I think at the moment Hayden's going to be long. That half a second that I just got off the race leader, that's neglected. But then of course goes round, comes round, because Reece Wakefield also had to do with that traffic.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? With a longer race, it can be real luck of the draw as to where you run into that traffic and how much it does slow you down. You can see Wakefield
got another one as well.
Just getting up and over the 5-second mark as these guys catch up to, it looks like Ian Ward from ADHD Racing, who's ahead of them at the moment, and he's giving them a little bit of a tow for now, but for every turn that comes up, Veld's going to be getting more and more frustrated that...
Well, 1 second he just drops, essentially.
Yeah, well,
like
yeah.
That. And look at that, we caught him in the corner as well, too. Gets out of the way now, but once again, Hayden Veld's thinking about microseconds here in this race, and as he's pushing, and look at this, got held up big time. Whoa, that was
lucky. That was lucky.
Yeah.
We've got a battle going on further back for 19th still. Surprise, surprise, Mick Whiting still in amongst it. Liam Jensen, Josh Harris, Ben Faulkner all in this little pack as Whiting leads them down the straight. Sitting in 19th at the moment, they're a lap down, but that doesn't mean that the battle stops. They're still fighting for a good haul of points in the championship.
Slow down as well too. Thomas sneaks on by.
Just like that.
Wow, went wide. Pushing. Thomas has been sitting there patiently behind him for so long now, says thank you very much, I'll take that. And moves himself up the P2. Now Thomas is clear. Thomas is going to be thinking about pushing it to try to take it to Reece Wakefield. Time, unfortunately, is not working on their side here now because 20 minutes remaining in this race.
Very wide there, didn't he? Just completely overshot that corner and picked up a slowdown for his efforts. So that's going to set him back a bit, and you can see already.
It's actually going to bring Danny P into play, believe it or not.
Well, will
He's
too.
lurking about 2 seconds in the background, so don't count out old Danny P.
Could we see OPR on 2 steps of the podium tonight instead of just 1? It's entirely possible still. Go a little bit further back to Jacobson and Coates. These guys have been just hovering around each other for a good few laps at the moment. But it does look as though they're going to continue to do so right to the end. Neither of them really finding enough pace to make a huge inroad here. Dean Jacobson just a couple of tenths slower on the last lap, but it's going to take more than that for Brad Coates to actually get past. Daniel Harrod now attacking Kyle Ridley in this battle for 22nd. He's looking up the inside of Ridley's McLaren and isn't quite there at this point. They come on down. Ridley, though, looks to have he's lost it in that corner. I'm at a bit of a loss. It's really disappointing to see Ridley struggling so much this season because he's had such a good run and just can't seem to find the pace in that car this season compared to what we've seen of him previously. It's
yeah, some of the new iRacing updates can throw people around a little bit with the subtle differences that happens. And also, you don't know, Kyle might not have as much free time per se to get in the
makes a difference, doesn't it?
That he does as well too. You know that happens with everybody's got our normal lives to live, and sometimes you get the luxury of spending a lot more time in get behind the wheel and do practice races, or get out there and do some online races. And you just don't know the situation for us. Which, as you said, for Kyle, he's up 2 places at least in this race, but you know, sitting in 23rd place is probably not where he was ultimately wanting to be.
Another surprise packet here, though. Chris Lashbrook from ADHD finds himself up in 6th at the moment. He does have Liam Tipping and James Salhani breathing down his neck, but he's on track for a really, really strong finish here as you see him a bit of a wiggle. So he's obviously pushing hard to try and maintain that. He's got to remind himself, at worst, if Tipping and Salhani get past him, he's still got 24 seconds behind him to Miller in 9th. So his worst outcome here surely is 8th place. That doesn't mean he's going to settle for it, of course. He'll continue to push for the next, 18 odd minutes that we've got left in this Enduro here at Misano. But it's a really, really nice position to find himself in, and that's some brilliantly played strategy from ADHD here. We've maybe shared some tips with Ryan Palmer and Josh Harris a bit further back, eh?
He's got the Koala Cartel behind him at the moment, so, you know, I got some eucalyptus for you there, my friend. He's trying to run away with it. You don't want to mess with the koalas. Koala Cartel. I don't even know how would you say like a cartel is a koala, like hey.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's. I don't think it's something I'm going to even try to do, honestly.
He's going to put some pressure on it right now.
Absolutely to you, mate.
Koalas are upset, and Chris has to try to defend off. Liam's going to throw some W's here at the moment. So he's going to try to throw Chris off by pretending to send that car in places that you probably wouldn't be sending it. And of course, if you're wise old drivers are well aware that, hey, if you're going to try to send up there, my friend, go for it, because you're going to scrub some speed, and that's what he's doing, actually, because James Sahari is well aware of that in the background, going, all right, my friend, every time you make an attack and you make one little mistake, I'm ready to pounce.
And that's what it's all about, right? Just making sure you're there to take advantage of, if not a mistake in the line, then potentially any one of the dozens of slowdowns that we've seen here tonight, which is about what we expected. But yeah, I will be honest, this is probably actually a bit cleaner than I was expecting in terms of off tracks. I was honestly expecting to see a few more.
You wanted to see the whole timing tower illuminated like a Christmas tree of yellows.
It would have happened, I reckon. These guys have obviously all put in the time and the practice ahead of tonight's race to make sure they understand the track limits and stay, well, I won't say well within them, but stay within them to the satisfaction of the iRacing stewards. Because, yeah, they're certainly not racking up as many as I expected. Ryan Palmer now looking for a way past Alex Zekas.
Yeah, that's another part. They got Ryan Palmer, of course, up 10 positions gain there. But Chris Slashbrook gone into pit road. Whoa. Are we going to be able to see that third pit stop? They don't. Maybe drivers do not have enough. Well, he certainly does not have enough. Has to yield a ton of positions. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I wonder if perhaps one of his previous pit stops was just a bit early, and this is. I think he had some damage early on, didn't he? Let me go back, folks, and take a quick look and see just what Lashbrook has had happen so far. He has had the early. No, he's in on lap 18 initially. Yeah. So that was what 30 minutes into the race that he came into the pits the first time. Then in again at 1 hour. So. I'm at a little bit of a loss as to why he's needed to pit. He should have been able to make the run home. He only did 15 minutes essentially on that 50%. Remember, they're running tank. As James is going to try to put that pressure right now on Liam Tipping there for the Eucalyptus Cartel. I mean, Eucalyptus Mafia, Koala Cartel machine. It looks though. Just taking a quick look, Chris Lashbrook only spending 8 seconds in the pit box, just wanting a little bit of a top off to make it home. He obviously had figured out that he didn't quite have enough to make it there. Now, whether that's just a factor from being caught up in some high intensity battles right throughout and not having the opportunity to really fuel manage as much as he perhaps should have. If that's the case, I reckon there's a lot of drivers at risk of needing a third stop here. You might be right. So 13 minutes and 50 odd seconds to go in this race. Of course, for the endurance race, big points up for grabs. So you can double your points here at the moment if you get yourself a nice race victory here. As you said, 300 up for grabs here. 300 for the winner. Of course, the rest of the positions all scaled accordingly. So just by being here tonight, you're picking up a pretty good haul of points for a single race. Ordinarily we see these split across 2 or 3 races on any given race evening. If you are new to the MC Motorsport setup, then welcome. Usually it's a 100-point sprint and a 200-point feature race, or 300-point sprint races. 3 100-point sprint races, I should say, just to be clear. And then you've got the Enduros where it's 300 points for the single race winner.
But this is definitely the more efficient way to get a few points in there, that's for sure.
That's the way to go, of course. And as you said, like I think prior going into the race tonight, our race leader was on, Reece Wakefield was on 291 points. Now, Thomas Hinds has got that down to 3.1 seconds, almost shy of actually 2.9 now, to our race leader. Late last minute charge here. Yes.
I mean, 10 minutes as he left it too late. I don't know. It's coming down though. Let's just keep an eye on that. Those lap times have been relatively close. Last time around, Thomas Hinds picked up a couple of tenths.
It's 1.7. What's happened there? Is there a bit of traffic that Reece Wakefield's been caught in here? That's a big chunk of time here.
It looks like he might have got caught behind that ADHD car of Ryan Palmer, perhaps just for a moment.
Yeah.
But there's Thomas Hinds, and he can smell blood right now.
Thomas has got to be clear. Yeah, Thomas, that is Ryan Palmer. And Ryan Palmer, I'm sure right now Thomas is going to be like, Ryan, please be my biggest friend here and completely get out of my way so I can absolutely put the gas pedal down here, because in the dying stages of this endurance race, we've just about under 10 minutes to go. Thomas Hinds is in striking distance of Reece Wakefield, that's been dominating this race so far. Right up the front, had a comfortable lead for most of it. Now, in the dying stages, he's under big pressure here. Tom still has to clear, of course, Ryan Palmer, who's still on the lead lap.
Oh, big contact there. Tipping gets spun by Salhani. They've ended up just overcooking it through the corner there. I think we'll go back and we'll take another look at it in just a moment. But that was one of the Race on Odds cars as well. Jackson Austin getting caught up in that, and I wonder how much that had to do with Liam Tipping. Take a look at this. Jackson Austin comes through, overcooks the rear, slides around, and in the background, separate to that, Salhani has tipping across the nose.
They were reacting to that spin there, and they were probably lifting off a little bit. One driver was lifting off a little bit more. Then there was contact, of course, because...
Yeah, maybe a little contact there. Maybe.
Well, you see a car that spun around the corner. What do you generally do? Well, some drivers just never lift. Denny Pease had a slowdown, so he's been right up the back there, of course, for the battle for P3 too with Hayden.
Well, there's
that's going to cost him a little bit.
So Danny Pease certainly caught him. It's within a few tenths now, but Danny's going to have to clear that slowdown. That'll stretch it back out again, I'm sure. But Reece Wakefield, Thomas Hinds still only a second and a half.
Coasting here? Because, I mean, unless, of course, that traffic caught him off, but his last lap was a 35.6. Thomas is a 34.12, so...
He's worried about getting home at this point. That's
what I was saying about the race leader, isn't it? You had a little bit of time to lift off there and save some fuel, and perhaps that's the case that he's doing. You might say, okay, well, Thomas is a second change down the road. However, I am making sure that I have enough in the tank there to cover up the final attack.
And that's a really smart move if that's what Reece is doing, because Thomas Hinds has to push to try and catch him. If Wakefield can just save a little bit extra in the tank for this final 10 minutes and save it for where he really needs it the last couple of laps, he's going to be able to push to either stay ahead or to reel Hinds back in. And on top of that, there's a very real opportunity for Wakefield to actually use Ryan Palmer as a bit of a roadblock here, because Hinds doesn't just have to get past Wakefield, he has to get past Palmer first to even get to Wakefield. So
he might be getting a nice tow from him, right?
I would not be at all surprised if Reece Wakefield is trying to just tow Ryan Palmer along a little bit and make that pass more difficult, because Thomas Hinds just sitting in there.
He moves out of the way, so there it is. I don't think that cost Thomas any time at all, really. Maybe about 1/10. So
nothing in that
it's
at
on
all.
Now.
Let's keep an eye on the times. Last time around, what was it? 2/10, 2.5 tenths quicker for Thomas Hinds. So it's getting close.
Why was Reece flashing his lights? Because he's coming up some traffic, but that traffic's a little bit further up the road.
He's just being prepared, mate.
See that?
Just what is it, Boy Scouts? Be prepared.
Yeah. Those drivers need to clear out of the way at the moment, because these are milliseconds. There's a second now between them here, and they're coming up to more traffic. Reece needs them to clear completely out of the way, because he knows here just 2 tenths here. It's potentially going to put him in massive pressure of 8 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, 8 minutes, a minute and a half per lap. So we've probably got, I would think we've got 6 laps up the sleeve here. There's not a lot in it at all, and you see again Hinds cards another 3/10 almost out of Wakefield there. This is going to come very, very close. Reece Wakefield, I hope that he's been saving a good amount of fuel here and has it really tucked away in the tank for this final sprint, because I would hate to see him run out and very lucky there to not get caught
that's
up.
Luke Hayden going off the track there, exactly. Did it cost anything between them? No, still a 1.2 second gap, so they reacted quite well to that situation. But that's the thing we're talking about, isn't it? Because if Reece is saving just a little bit of gas, he can. Thomas is the one unfortunately can't, because he's just been putting in belter laps after belter laps, and he can't afford to lift off right now. It seems to me that he smells a potential victory here. It is a little bit of a stretch, but he's got to put the pressure on. That's what you've got to do as a driver. You've got to apply the pressure. You've got to make Reece think, hey, you're not going to comfortably drive away with this race victory. I am in your mirrors right now, and I'm going to put some pressure on you. Hayden's also in the background as well, too. Any mistakes that his drivers make, that he can come back through here. That's what you've got to do.
Sitting on board with Wakefield at the moment, it doesn't really look like he's saving anything at the moment. He's pushing it out to the red line. He's not coasting it into the corners at all. So maybe he feels that he's at a point where he's comfortable with the amount of fuel in the tank that he can start to really push. Maybe we missed all of the fuel saving efforts, Biggles, but he is back to full noise here, and we see it there that time around. Reece Wakefield actually going at 300ths quicker than Thomas Hinds, so he's done with the fuel saving. He is absolutely sending it for the next 6.5 minutes to the end of this race.
Game on. Game
100%.
on. Thomas needs to put in the fastest laps of his racing career right now if he wants to. So once again, you're going to get a situation that's one thing to catch, it's another thing to overtake. So once you get back up onto the bumper there of Reece Wakefield's car, you're going to need yourself a handful of laps probably to get an overtake done. And he doesn't have that time on his side. Shy of 6 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it's coming in pretty quickly. Bud Club just saying that and Veld driving home from Bathurst to Melbourne, making it into the session with 15 minutes to spare. That's a pretty decent effort. That's a pretty decent effort. More impressively is that he's managed to open up somehow that 2.5 seconds back to Danny P now. So he's looking pretty assured of a podium spot at this point. Still battles going on further back, and you see this train of cars. There are a few battles in amongst it. You've got Seeker, Starrett and Caldwell all battling it out for P13. Jackson Starrett, for all of his efforts here tonight, hasn't actually moved from where he started this race. Still in P14. James Selhani as well will look on track at the moment to finish in P6 right where he started. So nothing wrong with that. But certainly some movers out there. Charlie Milliken up 13 spots from the start. Has to be one of the more impressive drives today, as well as Dean Jacobson and Ryan Palmer, both up 11 in the background. You see Darren Caldwell off the track, and that'll take him effectively out of the fight here. Lucas Baker goes past and picks up P15 as well. Now Charlie Milliken looking to pick up an extra here. Can he get through? Can't quite get it yet. Needs to stay alongside and gets it done. Moves his way up into 16th place, and that'll be 14 positions gained for Milliken in the Mercedes.
Impressive, absolutely.
Michael Whiting goes through as well.
Still going on too, yeah. Whiting for the MC Motorsport entrance. He's down 7 positions, but he's back. He's fighting his way back up to the field. And unfortunately, Nathan Allenby's in the pace car the whole night long, wanting to get out there and do some laps himself, but unfortunately can't. It doesn't look like it's going to get that caution car coming out right now. Shy of 4 minutes to go. And I think Reece Wakefield's just got the call up there and turned up the wick a little bit, because now he's got a 2-second gap to P2.
Oh, absolutely has. He picked up, almost 4/10 in that last lap over Thomas Hinds. So Wakefield has just saved that little bit of extra fuel to be able to make this last push and just cement his win here tonight. It's not over yet, of course, but it looks to be all but at this point. Alex Seekers and Jackson Starrett still fighting it out for 13th spot. Seekers up 4 into 13. Jackson Starrett, as we said earlier, right where he started this race. Thomas Hinds, can he have anything left? Does he have enough in the tank to make a charge here? I think he's
dropped off another half a second as well too. And it's just probably a case of bring this one home at the moment, because you're not close enough to apply that pressure to Reece. But it's because they've all been with clean air as well too for some time. They've got really no cars. They're not going to approach any cars and back markers at this point, deep into the race. So Thomas has got nothing to kind of assist him. If anything, could potentially block Reese to slow him down enough that Thomas can put an attack on him. And you're just at this point, so you've done your best to try to take Reese to the win, but it looks like to me Reese's one performance racing car for the 969 is going to give him an AP1.
Yeah, it does look pretty good at this point. Look at this, almost 3 wide. We're still trying to settle this one. Whiting, Caldwell, and Milliken. Oh, Michael Whiting somehow survives that. As do Caldwell and Milliken, who are now side by side as they make their way down. This is getting pretty intense this far back in the field. There's a big moment there. Just a bit of a lock of the brakes from Caldwell allows Milliken through. And even the best ABS can't save it when you push it just too hard. You're gonna lock something. You're gonna lose traction and end up well wide. And you've got to think that that's Darren Caldwell out of this one. That said, it's not over yet. Still 2 minutes to go. We haven't seen the white flag just yet. Reese Wakefield's just crossed the line, so this will be the second to last lap now. I expect that white flag to come out next time around.
Wow.
Didn't
have enough in the tank.
And so does Milliken. Oh,
yeah.
that's
and
brutal.
Mick Polly. Wow. Last pit stops, and there's almost a collision going in the pit lane as well, too, catching off guard with the speed difference here. So, top 10 positions here potentially from Mick Polly are thrown out the door here on the dying stage of this race. Are we going to see potentially anybody else coming in here now?
2 more laps, that's all they needed. 2 more laps of fuel, they just couldn't get there. That's got to be heartbreaking. Thomas Hinds has actually clawed back 2.5 tenths on that last lap, so he's not done yet. But I reckon Reese Wakefield is absolutely teetering on the edge of the amount of fuel that he needs to get home here. There's got to be nothing in this.
Yeah, Reese came in that one pit lap after Thomas as well, too. And Thomas is one that's been pushing to try to catch him. So you've got to say there's got a swing in the favour there of Reese Wakefield to have a little bit more in the tank than what Thomas possibly could have.
I mean, you'd have to think so, right? You'd have to think so.
Down 1.2 now. It's 1.2. But I think Amy Reese is just playing with his food a little bit at the moment, going, okay, I'll bring you in a little bit because I want you to burn your gasoline.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. Reese has been out in front on his own this whole time. As we come on down, you see the white flag waving on the left there. So this is the final lap. This is Thomas in the last shot. Needs to put in an absolute cracker if he wants to be able to reel in Reese Wakefield, and Wakefield's starting to extend. It's out to 1.3 now and climbing.
Went in as well too for P14. That'll drop in some places. Just a couple of drops, couldn't squeeze enough out of the tank to get him home here.
It really
have seen races before in the past there, Jared, where they've run out of fuel essentially in the last sector. So you never know, mate.
Well, that's it, right? In the absence of any requirement to make it back to pit lane, Reese Wakefield can just roll across the line and be good.
Absolutely. That's it. Looks like Harold also has had to head back into pit road there from P20. That'll drop him a couple of places back. But 1.4 is the gap between Thomas now and not enough time. Essentially just one more second to get it done here. He would need Reese to make a massive mistake, and Reese ain't going to make a massive mistake right now. Barely any traffic to deal with.
No, way too consistent all the way through, and a very, very well-deserved win for Reese Wakefield. Thomas Hinds, a great effort, to be fair, and you can see him starting to reel in here. Has Wakefield run out of fuel at the last minute? Surely not. Surely not.
He just slowed down a little bit to celebrate this.
He's got home. The control line's actually back at just outside that corner, so he knew he was home there. Wakefield takes the win ahead of Thomas Hinds. Hayden Veld comes through in P3, a good second ahead. And Wakefield clearly not out of fuel because he's got plenty of tyres left to burn off. So why not leave your mark on Misano? They've got some really, really nice little runoffs here to make a bit of an impression, let's say.
He's got the bottles of moonshine on the back and go top it up if he needs to. Yeah, absolutely. Stunning drive there. What's that showing us? Danny P's gone into pit road?
No, he's just towed very, very quickly.
Yes. Yep.
Just a couple of last battles on the go here. Charlie Milliken has a slowdown. Now, this is going to be tricky. He needs to clear that before he crosses the line, or that turns into something like... And there's the black flag for Milliken. So there you go. He didn't actually clear it in time. He was pushing so hard. He's going to cross with a black flag. That's going to be a huge penalty for Milliken. Daniel Harrod still has the slowdown to clear. He's going to have to do that before he crosses the line here. I don't know if he's just got it done. Just cleared it, so he will not receive the black flag. So he'll move up through the order. That's a really, really tight finish there for some of the last drivers across the line. But hats off, Reece Wakefield, just parked there at the moment, just enjoying. I suspect he's probably well and truly out of fuel by this point.
It might be now, yeah. Hey, at least the Fords managed to finish the race without blowing up. I'm impressed.
Always a good race when that happens, isn't it? As we get the results coming on through for tonight's race. And this is confirmation of the final results. Reece Wakefield taking the win there, although we will have to fix up some of those points, I suspect, because there should absolutely be points involved there. Reece Wakefield takes the win ahead of Thomas Hinz and Hayden Veld, then Danny P and James Selhani, with Liam Tipping, Mick Poley and Chris Miller behind. Chris Lashbrook and Brad Coates sneaking into your top 10. Dean Jacobson, the last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. So a very, very solid effort indeed. I do have to wonder if Hayden Veld might have been out there driving around in reverse, but he tends to only do that off the back of a win. We might start our conversations here tonight with tonight's winner. Hey, Big, let's bring him on in. Reece Wakefield, welcome to the booth, mate. And what a drive out in front. You were on a knife edge with fuel there at the end, weren't you?
Incredibly, I was very close. My fuel was saying that I had like a refuel of 1 litre. I'm like, what? No, surely not. But that was with like a lap margin. Putting it down to like 0 lap margin, I was fine on fuel, but I think I crossed the line with 0.2 laps of fuel. So enough to do donuts at the end.
Well, look, we certainly appreciated them, mate. We caught those. That's the main thing, right? It looked like a tough one out there. I mean, Misano is notorious for all sorts of slowdown opportunities. You seem to have survived that relatively intact. What was the strategy going into tonight? How did you manage to hold that lead lap so consistently for so long?
Well, I love Misano. Like, I think Misano is a fabulous track for racing. Like the Titan technical sectors, like sector 1, and then you got the long back sector with a long straight into like just hard braking into hairpins. Like it's just a beautifully designed track, and I'd spent a lot of time in week 13s in the Ferrari Challenge just farming Misano, so I know my way around here fairly well. But look, the strategy was fuel saving. Like that was it, because originally if you were to go flat out, it's 3 stops. It's 3 stops by like 12 litres or 10 litres of fuel. So all we were doing was in both the stints was just aggressively fuel saving, like lifting as early as we could without losing the margin behind. So both Danny and I were doing that aggressively, and with like our engineer Aaron, he was helping out throughout the entire race. Like we were just constantly talking to each other about fuel per lap, because that was the most important thing coming into this race.
Mate, you seem to have managed it very, very nicely this evening. It's come home with a really, really solid result, actually, for OPR overall. Danny P, unfortunately, just missing out on a podium, but will still take home some good points. Before we let you go, anyone you want to say hello to or give a bit of a shout out?
Obviously, like every week I'm here, I'm going to shout out my team OPR. I mean, without these boys, I wouldn't be as sweaty as I am. Danny, big shout out to Aaron as well, because he helped us with all the fuel strategy and stuff. Shout out to you guys for putting a lovely broadcast on as per usual every week. Shout out to everyone at home. Shout out to also my best friend watching. Thanks for tuning in every week. Love that for me. And yeah, thanks to everyone that comes racing every Monday.
Mate, great to have you in the booth as always. Congrats on the result tonight. Some good points heading your way, and we'll take a look at the championship standings pretty soon. But for now, go and celebrate. We'll chat to you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, boys. Will do.
Reece Wakefield takes out the win here tonight. Not too far behind this evening was Thomas Hinds. Tom, welcome back to the booth, mate. You had such a push there at the end, but just couldn't quite get there. I suspect that Reece was probably watching you pretty closely, and I imagine you were pretty tight on fuel as well, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I did a short fuel by like a litre in the last stop because I was trying to do something to jump Valdi. So I thought, so I was trying to catch him, but Reece was just a bit too fast, and didn't quite have the pace, but all good. I'm happy with that. I didn't really know what to expect tonight. I haven't really driven around Misano in the GT3 much, so just was sort of like, top 10, top 5 would be cool. They qualified alright, and lost a little bit of time early, having to get past Sohani. That was a little bit annoying to lose time there, but all good. Got through, and then at that point I was like, I'll just take a nice easy third, easy peasy, and then I was sort of catching the lead soon. I was like, oh, okay, we might have a chance of getting something here, and then I got to Hayden and just kind of sat behind him for most of the race, and couldn't quite shape up a move, but just sort of sitting with him, and then he made a mistake, and I was able to slip through, and and then I'm assuming Reece made a mistake or something because he dropped a bunch of time in a lap, and suddenly there was maybe a chance, and gave it a go, but not quite enough pace to get Reece, but very happy with the second.
Mate, as you should be. It was tightly contested, and in the end, a good turnout for you as well. We'll let you get back to it, but as always, if there's anyone you want to say hello to or thank for the support, then I'll let you do that before we let you go, hey?
Just as always, the HGR crew for the awesome looking vest that Henry put together, and all support. Big thanks obviously to the league for MC for great league, great fun, always a good time, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
Always a pleasure to chat to you, Tom. We'll no doubt be chatting to you again at some point throughout the season, but we'll let you go and enjoy maybe a nice cool drink after that one, hey?
I think I will. Actually, I've got a couple of CC Lemon Crushes. I might have one or two.
Nice. Well earned, mate. Well earned. Well done tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thomas Hinds takes P2 there in the Misano Enduro, and P3 from someone who should have barely made it back to actually join this race in time. Hayden Veld joins us in the booth now. Hayden, mate, I hear you only just made it into the ring tonight for that race.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rush. Just getting home from Bathurst, we thought I was doing all right for time, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a bit tight, so I hope no cops are listening, but we raced the speed a little bit, and then made it home like just before the server went up, quickly learnt the track, and then I was battling the last half of that race to stay awake. Definitely made a few mistakes because of it, but we made it to the end.
Sorry, can I just confirm that you've just said you just learned the track? Have you not done laps here at Misano before?
I think I did one race when it first came out.
Wow.
In week 13 or something, and then
So P3 tonight, you've got to be pretty happy with that, all things considered, then, hey?
I mean, I feel like, to be honest, it should have been a track that suited the Lambo more, so probably a wasted opportunity. But P3 is still obviously very good, but probably could have been higher tonight, but it's not too bad.
Well, mate, look, it's as always, holding yourself to a very high standard indeed, and a good result by anyone's measure, I'm sure. Before we let you go, anyone you want to say hello to, a co-driver on the way back from Bathurst that perhaps you owe a few drinks to or something like that?
Yeah, huge thanks to Bowler for not driving a single stint on the way back. That was pretty handy. It made me learn how to drive manual, mate, and you can help me out. But just once again, thanks to ART boys, you guys, all the crew. Ghetto for the help. Good lad. That's about it. Thanks to everyone.
I think you're overdue for a nap, my friend. Go and
I am going to bed right now.
We'll leave you to it. We won't hold you up any further. Great drive tonight, Hayden. A shame that we didn't get to see the reverse lap of honour, but I'm sure there'll be another opportunity this season. Well done. Congrats on the result. And more importantly, congrats on surviving the drive home.
Cheers, mate.
Haydenveld takes P3 tonight here at Misano. And that is a hell of an effort, Biggles, to make that trek and make it back here in time.
I'm exhausted after a big Bathurst weekend, and then just jump on a racing rig in the last minute, and as you said, barely putting laps down on the track, and then he had to get in here for a grueling 1.5 hours to go at fast pace around all these other gentlemen, obviously like Reese Wakefield there, Hayden, WP, and everybody else that are racing, James too. So hats off. I'm tipping my hat.
Absolutely. Before we wrap this up tonight, just a quick look at the provisional standings. Of course, a drop round will come out of this, so it'll mess with us all again before next week. But no harm in us taking a bit of a look. Wakefield, Veld, and Danny P look to be set to maintain their positions at the top of the leaderboard. Thomas Hinds, regardless of his drop week, will jump a fair way up, I suspect, given that we're showing him up 15 from tonight's result. Chris Miller had a good result as well, did Brad Coates. Liam Tipping also picking up a good haul of points tonight, so he'll no doubt end up a bit further up than he started this evening. Jackson Starrett back in 13th, up 13 as well. At this stage, I'd have to think that there's a couple of these drivers that, perhaps didn't actually record a result in one of the first few rounds, and so we're starting to see this play out. But of course, 6 rounds are left to go here for this season, which means that we've still got plenty of points on offer and plenty of races ahead of us. Indeed, as we look ahead, Hungaroring next week, followed by Barber Motorsport Park. We've still got Zandvoort, Silverstone. As always, good to see Bathurst on the calendar, and a big finish at Suzuka toward the end of November. Still so much amazing racing ahead of us, Biggles, and plenty of opportunity for these drivers to rack up some more points.
Yeah, especially because you're going to go back to some sprint racing formats there as well too. So, if you don't have one good race, you can make it up in another good race. That'll be interesting. Big shout out, obviously, to JW out there. Wasn't racing, but was certainly providing us a lot of entertainment out there in the chat, as well as everybody else. Of course, we do thank you for your support and your inputs, and give us a juicy bits of information that are going on from your friends and family and drivers and all that sort of stuff.
100%. And of course, thanks to you, Biggles, for tuning in with me and keeping everyone well informed right throughout. That'll bring it to an end for tonight here at Misano. It did deliver all of the excitement we had hoped from this track, and then probably a little extra on top. As always, the MC Motorsport French Car Care GT3 Championship continues to impress with the standard of driving that we are seeing here each and every week. I hope you've enjoyed it at home. Thank you so much for being with us. The championship fight will roll on, of course, next week as round 5 beckons. But until then, we'll see you soon, folks. Thanks for coming along. It is goodbye for now.